start. I started the recording as well. So, welcome to our first class for Azure Data Engineering. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. Hello, I am Abhishek. I have total 7 to 8 years of hands-on experience as Azure Data Engineer. I have done like 7 to 8 projects in this cloud migration and cloud data engineering field by using Data Factory, Databricks, Azure Synapse Analytics, PySpark, Spark SQL, and that is what I will teach during my course. So, and also I am working right now in Aldi Germany as Azure Data Engineer. So yeah, so what I will do during the course is I will teach the architecture diagram to you guys. So I will teach 3 architecture diagram. One architecture is totally into the data factory. Second will be on Databricks, and then third will be on Synapse Analytics. These are the 3 architecture diagram which I will teach you guys. And then after doing all of these architecture diagram, I will give you the interview questions with respect to these projects, which I have like used and given multiple interviews of multiple companies that I will give by end of the course. So the course is designed in such a way that yeah, you do project with me, the real-time project which I have done, and then you prepare for the interview question which I will give you, and then I will help you to make your resume, and then you approach the interview. So this is how it has been designed, right? So yeah, so this is the first class, so I will not give much of a introduction about the course because I guess I already given an introduction, much introduction, right? So yeah, so I will just start teaching as like this is our first class, right? So what we will do, so first of all, we will approach this architecture diagram in which we are trying to move the data from source or on-premise server to Azure Blob Storage using Azure Data Factory, right? So that is what I will teach as the first project, okay? So let's try to understand what we are doing in this particular project. What we are trying to do is we are trying to move the data from source to the blob storage using Azure Data Factory. Then we will read the data to Azure Databricks, try to transform it, write it back to blob storage. Then we move the data to Azure SQL Server or Azure Synapse Server using Data Factory again, and then make a Power BI dashboard. So this is what we will do as a first project, right? And we will start implementing this particular project since like from the today's class, right? So that is what we will do. Before doing that, we will understand why it is important, like why basically in which cases we need this particular project and why any company wants to approach this architecture, right? So first we'll understand that, and also we will understand what will be your role as a data engineer in this project, right? So we will answer these two questions first, and then we will approach this, right? So yeah, any questions still here, guys? So I till now I have told you that yeah, we will do 3 projects and then just outline about me and the course curriculum, how we will follow this. So if you have any question with respect to this, you can ask me, or else we'll move forward. Okay. So I feel there's a no question, but you can stop me and ask if you have any question anytime, right? So first of all, let's understand why this project, like why any company follow this particular first project and why they do it, and also what will be your role in this particular project, right? So that we'll understand first. Okay. So when you think about this, right? So now every company is trying to move their data to the cloud, and reason of that is basically in the cloud it's easy to handle the data, it's easy to collaborate between others, right? It's easy to purchase any software very easily, right? So these are the advantages which cloud gives you, if I see myself as a user, if I see myself as an individual user, I used to watch movies in this CDs and DVDs in the past, but now I don't do it. Why? Because I can go to Netflix, I can go to any of the streaming services and then see the movies then and there, right? And also, if I want to share anything, I don't purchase any sort of hard drive or anything to store my images. I just upload those images to Google Photos or anything of that sort. And reason of that, why I'm doing those things is because it's easy to maintain. Okay, it's easy to maintain. Then easy to collaborate or share. Then uh, data loss and recovery. So when I'm managing my own hard disk or DVDs, the loss and recovery and all of those things will be handled by me, but that will be handled by the cloud service provider, right? So because of all of these advantages, so I will just all of these advantages are written over here. Yeah, so the storage will be handled by the cloud service provider. The data loss recovery will be handled by the cloud service provider. Upgrade is very easy. So suppose if you have purchased something for like 2 GB and 3 GB, and then if it got full, then you need to go and purchase, like, upgrade is very easy. So you can upgrade any software, right? It is very easy. Collaboration is very easy, easy to implement. Maintenance is very easy because of all of these advantages. Not only individual person, but every company also wants to move the data to the cloud because they have a huge amount of data and they want to take all of these advantages. That is why they are moving the data to the cloud. Now, this particular architecture which I was showing you, what company wants to move all of this data to the cloud. Now I'm giving you a very simple requirement. Suppose I am a marketing director of suppose Walmart, for example, right? Now my CEO wants to understand the product of the year, the business unit of the year, and also in which city we have most of the sales, right? So my CEO has given me a requirement that what you need to do, you need to prepare a dashboard, and in the dashboard I want to present these things. What are the things? Product of the year, employee of the year, like which employee is performing best, which employee is selling most of the product, right? All of those things I want to analyze. Business unit of the year, which business unit is performing best, that I want to analyze, right? So like, and also I can write like 10 more things over here, right? So my CEO basically wants all of this. Now he also told that this solution I want to build in cloud. And why he wants to build in the cloud? Because he wants a futuristic solution, right? So he want to basically move everything to the cloud so that it's easy to share, it's easy to maintain, it's easy to it's easy to upgrade and all of, because of all of those advantages, he wants to prepare the dashboard in the cloud. Okay, then, and he also told that to prepare this dashboard, all of these data points you will get in on-premise SQL Server, for example, right? On-premise SQL Server. And also he told that few of the data points are present somewhere in the cloud itself, like suppose Dynamic 365, for example, which is already downgraded and already downgrading, right? So here it's present, for example. Now he wants to move it, right? And he wants to prepare a dashboard out of it. So a architect will come, Azure architect will come, and architect will design the architecture for him, right? So first of all, who will come? Azure architect will come and he will design an architecture for him. architect will come and he will design an architecture for him. He will just say that, yeah, try to just use data factory to move the data to the blob storage. And from blob storage, you can read the data to the Databricks, transform it, write it back, right? And then you can basically move the data to the SQL server, right? And then prepare a dashboard. So this sort of design architect will design. And then what admin will do, admin will make sure that whole infrastructure is secure and networking is in place, everything is in place, right? So Azure admin will come and he will basically make whole environment secure, right? Then he will call a Azure data engineer who will come and build this pipeline to move the data from here to here and then do some sort of processing here, then move the data here, right? So Azure data engineer job is to do extract, transform and load. He will extract the data, he will transform the data, and he will load the data for further dashboarding and preparation. That is the job of a Azure data engineer. So as a Azure data engineer, your job is to not to create a resources, not to bother about like networking, security, authentication, and all of that, right? So your job is mainly wholly in like it's mainly related to how do you extract the data, how do you transform the data, and how do you give that to a data analyst or a data scientist for further dashboarding or preparation, right? So here, your job is not to work on Power BI as well. A data analyst will come and then he will try to make dashboards for you, try to present the data for you. And then what data scientists will do, what data scientists will do, they will do the future prediction that next year what sort of sales will happen, next year what sort of things will happen, that will data scientists will do, right? And then as you DevOps engineer will basically, I'm not confusing you by telling you multiple roles, but when a project happen, when a project like suppose when I start teaching, people get confused with multiple things, but you should be very clear with what you need to learn, right? Because like you will also think about, yeah, Abhishek, there's a networking security things are coming or there's a DevOps things are coming. So you should be aware that you are responsible for what, and you are responsible for what, like what are the things you shouldn't be like because we are just starting, right? So you can be confused with your role. So okay, so I'm just clearly defining that what you need to learn, right? So then data scientists will try to predict the future and then try to understand what will happen in future, right? And then Azure DevOps engineer will take care of CI/CD implementation. So he will take everything from the dev environment, deploy it to the production environment, take it from the production test environment, deploy to the production environment. That DevOps engineer will do. As a data engineer, we will try to learn extract, transform, and load, right? That is what we will learn. Any confusion till here, guys?
Abhishek, when you called out the blob storage as a common point of source where you use for the transformation, so is that something like a staging area or like how can we call it like exactly?
Blob storage can be the blob storage in all the architecture is a first layer of storage.
Okay.
But it can be main layer of storage as well. If you want to transform and write it back again to blob storage, but always and always the first layer of storage will be the blob storage, but you can make different layers as well in the blob storage. It's not like the first layer will be always in the blob storage, another layer will be there in the SQL server or in Databricks and all of that. So data lake is generally a first layer, but going forward, the other layers can be also in the blob storage. Any other question, guys? Okay, if this is clear, what we will do now? Now suppose I have clearly shown you what we are approaching, right? We are basically approaching to move the data from source or a cloud server to Azure Blob Storage or Data Lake Gen 2 using Data Factory. What it means in very, very simple terms, I want to move the data from on-premise server to cloud. Just similar to you take any file from your local, you upload to Drive, right? So that is a single file which you're uploading. But if you have 100 files, how to develop a pipeline which can go daily to your server, pick those files, move those files to the cloud daily. If you have one file, then also a particular manual, like suppose if I cannot go to a server daily and upload that file daily at 10 p.m. daily, right? I cannot do it because sometimes I can be sick and sometimes I cannot move like 50 files, 100 file, 2000 file. I cannot do it. And then if there is a more requirement of picking up 10 columns, 20 columns by from all of those 100 files, a manual person cannot do it, right? So we need a tool for it. And that tool is Data Factory. So suppose if I give you a task to come here daily in my computer and upload, for example, yeah, I have this CSV dump. So I have given you a task or anyone's task that pick all of these files, upload that to Drive daily, right? So I can come today, I will do, yeah, I know, don't need the Data Factory or anything of that sort. You come and then you upload it. But I cannot do it daily. Though I can do it, but manual process is always prone to error. So I can miss few of the file here. Or if someone has said me to just pick like 5 column from here, 6 column from here, it's very difficult for me to pick up those column and do it on time daily, right? So then we need a Data Factory as a tool. So to approach this architecture, what we will do first of all, we need to make Data Factory. We need to have a on-premise server. We need to have a blob storage. Then only this particular process will come. Forget about all of this. Forget about this. First, we will learn this part. Data Factory on-premise blob storage. So first, we will try to learn how to use Data Factory to move the data from source to the blob storage. That is what we'll learn, right? Okay. To do that, as you want to watch movie, you take a Netflix subscription. Similar to that, if you want to work in a cloud, you need a cloud subscription, right? As simple as that. So how to get a cloud subscription? So what we will do, you can go to portal.azure.com. Then you log in here. You create your account if you don't have account. Then you log in, okay, and complete all the sign up process. And once you sign up, once you complete the sign up process, log in to portal.azure.com, okay. Then once you log in, this kind of window will come. I will show you what kind of window will come. Yeah, 1 second. I'm just opening a account in which there is no subscription so that I can show you how it will feel from a UI perspective. Yeah, so once you log in, once you go to portal.azure.com, make your account login, this kind of window will come in which it is showing you that yeah, you have 2000 like 200 free credit for Azure subscription. So, but like it is showing you 12 months, but the services which we need, Data Factory and your storage account, all of those services, you can get it for 1 month. Okay. So what you can do is you can get your credit card or debit card and all of that, and then create a free subscription for you for a month. Okay. And what we can do collaboratively as well, like any one of us can create an account and others can share that account. You don't need to give your email ID and password. You can just add him as a user in your account and then he can use it. And then other person can create account next month and then you can use it. That also we can do, right? So any one of us can make an account and others can work on it. And next one, suppose like how many people we have? We are 4 students. So each month someone can create it, another month we can use it. So now we have 4 months of subscription, right? This is how we can do it. So yeah, so we need to like click on start and then it will ask you the credit card detail and all of those email ID. So just fill in those details and then create account for you. Once you create an account for you, this is kind of window will come. Okay. This kind of window will come in which you can get a we can see you can see the subscription. So if you type subscription, if you go here, you will be able to see here free account. Currently I'm using a pay as you go account, but here you will be able to see free account. Yeah, right. And you can use a free account, like suppose you can upgrade your account after a month. That will cost you like around like 500 to 1000 rupees a month. So for me a monthly cost is 1500 because I teach multiple students and I'm using pay as you go. So you can also use a pay as you go, but for you that will not cost you 1000 like 1500 rupees a month. It will cost you like around 12 to $13 a month kind of it will charge you, right? So yeah, so the first we need to go to portal.azure.com, make our email ID, portal, come to portal.azure.com, get a subscription, right? And after that, we will create these resources. What are the resources we will create? We will create uh, data factory, a blob storage, right? And then we'll understand how to move the data, right? These are the things we will do now. Any confusion till here, guys?
Yeah, hi, Abhishek.
Yeah.
So I created an account because I watched that video you sent, but mine says Azure subscription one. It doesn't say free trial.
Yeah, it's a free trial itself. Sometimes
It's the
it's
same.
safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other doubt, guys? Okay, fine. So let's move forward. Now, before jumping on that, let's try to understand like what is cloud in general. Okay, so just the few definitions. What is cloud in general, right? So what is cloud in general? The cloud in general is you are not accessing your computer. You are trying to access someone else's computer on pay as you go and on demand. The practice of using a network of remote server hosted on the internet to store, manage, and process data rather than your local computer. So sometimes, yeah, so it's just like you are using someone else's computer on demand and pay as you go. What I mean by on demand and pay as you go means whenever you want to opt for a service, you can opt for it, and when like you can use it as much as you want, and then you can desubscribe it or delete it. That will not charge you money because Microsoft has a many resources everywhere. They try to allocate the resources, share the resources, all of that. So it is on demand and pay as you go, right? Now beside Microsoft, we have other players as well in the market, which is GCP, Amazon, Alibaba, VMware. We have other players as well in the market who is there in the cloud, right? But we are particularly focused on Microsoft cloud services. And why Microsoft has a edge? I feel Microsoft has a edge. Every cloud is good, but I feel Microsoft has an edge. Why? Because every company kind of uses a Microsoft product, be it a Office or Windows, like every company uses a Microsoft product. And at the same time, they have a very good integration with ChatGPT, a futuristic solution. So I feel Microsoft has an edge, right? So yeah. And then if I move forward, so the cloud has two types generally: deployment model and service model. In deployment model, we have three kinds of a cloud: public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. In service model, we have three kinds of services: IaaS, SaaS, and PaaS. In deployment model, we have a public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. What does it mean? Public cloud, suppose I just try to give you an example of it. Public cloud means suppose Microsoft opened a Azure and then they have a cloud services, right? Azure. Now many company will reach out to Microsoft for their services, right? So suppose TCS reaches to Microsoft, then Capgemini reaches to Microsoft. Right? And then suppose Walmart reaches to Microsoft. Or suppose like one particular HDFC bank reached to Microsoft, right? Now everybody needs to Microsoft, and as Microsoft has a different servers all around the world, for TCS what they have done, they have given some server to TCS, right? So they have given some servers to TCS, some server to Capgemini, some server to Walmart. Okay, so all of this server they have given to one company, for example. It's not one server, but they have basically allocated in their public domain because like they have all the servers all around the world, so they have given it, right? But what SDFC Bank said that our data is like highly secure and we don't want your hardware, your controlled hardware. So they will call Azure in their premise to set up a private cloud for them. So internally, all the data, like all the things can be shared internally, and the hard like they will come to their premise and then do a private cloud setup for them, right? But this is a public cloud setup in which the particular like they can access the shared servers which is there, right? So they can access it. Private cloud is Microsoft will go to their premise and set up a private cloud for them, right? Hybrid is mix of both. Many of the company uses a hybrid setup because they cannot move everything to the cloud, right? So they try to just Azure Active Directory or the setup which is already there. They try to do a private cloud setup for that, and then rest of them they use a public cloud. So many of the company uses a hybrid cloud setup in which it is mix of both, private plus public. Again, it's all like not so important when you do a practical implementation, but you should be aware about all of this, right? Then in the service model, we have IaaS, SaaS, and PaaS. IaaS is a infrastructure as a service, SaaS is a software as a service, PaaS is a platform as a service. Infrastructure as a service is you just get a infrastructure as a service, you just get a virtual machine and you don't got anything, right? So you're just getting a machine. PaaS is you're getting something in which you can go and code. That is PaaS. SaaS is software as a service, pre-built software. Okay. IaaS is you just get a virtual machine for your deployment. PaaS is you get a machine in which you can go and upload a code and all of that. SaaS is pre-built software which you get, right? That is SaaS. Any confusion on this, guys? Okay. If no, then we got a subscription. Now, suppose if you have multiple subscription, for example, me as a user has like multiple subscription, right? So you have a management group to manage that subscription, okay? So suppose if I have purchased multiple subscription, then I do have a management group to manage my subscription. But generally you don't deal with management group, right? Because yeah, so higher management and all the people who are in the leadership, they basically deal with management group, right? But you will deal with resources, and we have a resource group for it. What is resource group? Resource group is a collection of resources, right? So suppose if I open any resource group, I can see two resources created under this resource group. So here I can see two resources here. If I open this, then I am able to see all of these resources under this resource group, right? Then if I open this, I can see, I am able to see two resources. If I open this, I am able to see 5 resources, right? So all of these resources are part of this resource group. What does it mean? So like suppose whenever you're creating multiple resources, all of these are resources, right? So this data factory, your Databricks, your Synapse server, your SQL, yeah, your analysis service, all of these are resources. Now, when you're working in a project, you want to group all of your resources so that you can manage permission. So suppose I am working with suppose all of you, right? So Naveen, Isha, I am Bhavesh, I am working, we all are working together, right? And then like all of our resources, so suppose like we created 5 resources, data factory, Databricks, all of that, and we feel that in the organization only 5 of us should have control of all of these resources, and other than that nobody can touch these resources, right? So for that I will create a resource group, and I will add all of us in that resource group so that it is easily manageable. Okay. Yeah, so this is how we group the resources to manage the permission and control our resources properly. Okay, so here what we can do, we can go to the resource group and we can create a resource. So here you can manage your resource group names. Of suppose I am working on KPI dashboarding. KPI dashboarding project, and then here I can mention the region, like in which region I want to deploy my resources. Okay, so I am selecting Central India, for example. So generally, a region will be decided. Suppose you are trying to move the data from on-premise server to cloud. So region can be anything, but if your on-premise server is there in the East US or Central India, then this resources should be also in the Central India, so that movement is easy. It will not be a costly operation. But if you want to move the data from on-premise server, which is there in Central India, and you want to move it in East US, then the operation will be costly, right? So you will choose the region in which the movement is easy. So I'm considering Central India over here, right? Any doubt on this, guys? Okay. So let's move forward. Here, tax you can add, like who is the owner? Just the way of like tagging things properly, who is the owner, so that we can understand the details of it, right? And then review and create. Hit create, okay? So we created a resource group, which is KPI dashboarding. Now here we can create resources. Whatever resources we want, right? So here we can create the resources inside this resource group. So here you can search data factory, for example. And you can select your name, region, version, all of that you can select, and then review and create, right? You can press review and create. But generally we don't follow this, okay? So generally we type over here directly. Suppose here I can type directly data factory. I can hit create. Why I'm creating data factory again? Because I want to approach this architecture, right? So I do have a subscription now. I want to create resources. So I'm creating a on-premise I am creating a data factory. Then I will tell you how you can install a MS SQL Server on-premise. Then we will install a blob service. Then we'll try to do this movement. Okay. So I'm creating a data factory now. All right. So here you can select resource group, just the resource group which you have created just now. And here you can mention your name, ADF. And here you can mention the region, suppose Central India. Okay. And then previously there was a V1 version as well, but here currently we have only V2 version, right? So, and then Git configuration will do it later. Networking will not touch it because everything will be default. Advanced tag, everything is by default. We will not change anything. And creation of resources anyway is not our job. It is pre-created and given to you, right? Because as I told you, this solution architect and admin guys will create the resources for you. Your task is to do the development. But here we are creating the resources. Why? Because we want to set up our own development environment. Okay. So here you can hit create. I'm not creating it right now because I do have a data factory with me. Here you can mention your resource group, name, region, all of that, and then create your resource, right? But I'm not creating it because I do have a data factory. But whenever you create a resource, you need to mention your subscription, you need to mention your resource group, right? That is what you need to mention. Yeah, so we created a data factory. Any confusion on creating a data factory, right? So any confusion on this, guys, how to create data factory?
Do you have, sorry, do you have a recommended naming convention? Because you're, for example,
Yeah.
if you work in a big company, right? what do you usually use, like a standard? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so what I will do now, I will share a document with you in which
Okay.
the naming convention about everything is mentioned.
Okay.
It is for a project which I have done. So I will share the
Okay.
document with you in which everything is mentioned, right?
Okay, great. Thanks.
Any other doubt, guys? Okay. So once we create a data factory, we created data factory, and then we will set up a on-premise server. For that, what you can do, you can either install MySQL server. MySQL Server Community Edition, you can install this. I suggest you install this. And also you can install MS SQL Server on-premise. Yeah, so you can follow this link and you can install MS SQL Server on-premise as well. This is a good video this is a good video in which you can install MS SQL Server and SSMS on-premise. Okay. So you install MySQL Server and also MS SQL Server on-premise so that you have two sources on-premise in your own computer. Okay. And from there, we will try to pull the data. Okay. So try to install that as a homework and try to create an account, a particular uh, resource group, subscription, right? And then create a data factory as well. Okay. And then we will create a storage account. Okay. So yeah, so what are the things we have done? So we need to install a MS SQL Server or MySQL Server on-premise. Then we created a data factory. Now we are creating a blob storage. Now going forward in the next class, we will try to understand how to move the data, right? So let's try to create a storage account now. Okay. And before creating a storage account, let's try to understand what is storage account. So storage account is a resource offered by Microsoft to store your data. Okay, and it has 4 types. What are those? Either you choose to create a blob service or a data lake gen 2, then you have a file service, queue service, and table service. Okay. During the course, we will focus only and only on a blob service and a data lake gen 2. And in my past experience, I have worked on data lake gen 2 and a blob storage only. So during the course, we will work on this. And going forward in your projects as well, you will mainly work on this, right? Blob service and data lake gen 2 99% of the time. But from the definition wise, we should understand what is file service, queue service, and table service. File service is being used to share large file. Queue service is being used to handle messages. Table service is for NoSQL data, right? But I haven't worked on this. I will mainly talk about blob storage and data lake gen 2 during the course, but I will show you all of the storage. So if I open this, we have a blob service here. Only you will see data lake gen 2 itself. Either you can choose both of them, like either you can choose to create a blob service or you can choose to create data lake gen 2. So here you have a data lake gen 2. And beside that, we have a file service, queue service, and table service. File service is to share large file. Queue service is to handle messages. Table service is to handle NoSQL data, right? So these are the other storage. We will mainly focus on data lake gen 2 and blob service. Okay. And also it's very, very important to understand what is the difference between a data lake storage and a blob storage. Very important to understand from the interview perspective as well and from the job perspective as well, right? Very favorite interview question. Okay, so in the today's class, this is the most important question we should understand. So what is the data lake gen 2 and what is blob storage? So if I open data lake storage, here in data lake storage, you can create a container, right? What is container? Container is nothing but a folder. If you open a container, here you can create a directory. Directory is nothing but a subfolder, right? So in Data Lake Gen 2, you can create a container, and inside that you can create a directory which is subfolder. So you can create a container and you can create a directory in Data Lake Gen 2. When you open a blob storage, here you can create a container, but you cannot create a directory over here, right? So you cannot create a directory in blob service. So first difference between Data Lake Gen 2 and a blob service is you can create a directory inside a container in Data Lake Gen 2, which you cannot do in the blob service. What it means is you can create a subfolder inside a folder in Data Lake Gen 2, which you cannot do in the blob service. Also in Data Lake Gen 2 and blob service, in both of them, you can store as many files as you want, any story and any file which you can store, audio file, video file, any kind of a file you can store here. Now, if you open blob service, so if you open Data Lake Gen 2, if I open this, then here you are getting an option, here if I click on this, then I am getting an option to manage ACL, access control list. Means suppose if 5 developers are working in a project, I can individually assign a directory level of access in Data Lake Gen 2, which I cannot do in the blob service, okay? So that helps you to segregate your data and manage your data properly, which is not possible in blob service, okay? So, and also blob service is a older form of a storage. Data Lake Gen 2 is a upgraded form of a storage. Okay, so it's like more upgraded form of a storage which people uses. Okay, people are migrating from a blob service to Data Lake Gen 2, but nobody is currently implementing a solution in a blob service. If they are not looking for, if they are looking for a futuristic solution, then they are not doing it. If you have a very rigid fixed requirement, then you opt for a blob service, because blob service is generally a cheaper solution, and Data Lake Gen 2 is an expensive solution because of all of this advantages. Any doubt on this, guys? Now, how to create a blob service or a Data Lake Gen 2? You can hit create. You can select your subscription. You can select your resource group. You can type your storage account name. Suppose I am creating a blob service, for example, right? You can give the region, in which region you want to create. Now everything is by default. I'm not changing anything. Now, this is the important step. So if you click on this, it will create Data Lake Gen 2. If you uncheck on this, it will create a blob service. What is, if you click on this, what is this? Hareka namespace complemented by Data Lake storage endpoint, enable file and directory semantics, accelerate big data analytics workload, enable ACL. So all of this we have understood. Hareka namespace means container inside, like directly inside a container, complemented by data enable Data Lake endpoints, right? Directory level semantics, right? So if you click on this, it will create Data Lake Gen 2. If you don't click on it, it will create a blob storage for you. Then next, everything is by default. We will not change anything. And then review and create. I am not creating it right now because I have shown you I do have a storage account for me, right? Now, what are the things we will do? So first of all, as a homework, you guys need to create a subscription for you. Then create a storage account for you. Sorry, create a subscription for you, and then create a resource group. Then create data factory. Then create Data Lake Gen 2 and blob service, right? So these are the homework which you guys need to complete. I will share the homework with you, also upload the recording. So for the recording, please share your email ID in the group chat in which you are, and then we will continue forward, right? So that's all for today's class. And I feel for US guys, you need to jump, like in your office meeting, you need to start the office. So I will not take much of a time. Okay, guys. So that's all for today. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now, or else we can end this class. Thank you so much for your time. We'll meet tomorrow.
Oh, I do have a question regarding the storage, the blob between blob and Gen 2. They both can handle unstructured data, right?
Yes.
Okay, it's just functionality. It
Yeah.
Gen 2 has
Yeah.
more. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And generally for unstructured data, it's Gen 2 is recommended because like you need generally unstructured data is more and then you want to segregate it properly, but blob can also handle it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other question, guys? Okay, guys, so let's meet. I will share the recordings in your respective email ID. Please ping me your email ID in the group itself, and then if anybody makes the subscription and share it with others, he can do it because next month other person can make it and share the subscription with you. So yeah, so let's meet then. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you.